Hey guys, it's Tahira, and today I'm doing my August wrap-up. This wrap-up includes all the books I read in the month of August, plus the books I read in the booktubeathon, which I'm including in here because that was the last 2 days of July and then August, so you know I'm just gonna include everything in this wrap-up. But yeah, I read a total of 8 books, including those 2 days in July, and I'm really proud of myself because school started and I was busy, but I still managed to read 8 books, which is weird. Plus, I was gone to Disneyland for 4 days. So yeah, you know, I'm pretty proud of myself. The first day of booktubeathon was great. I read one book, the whole entire book in the first day, and that book was A Great and Terrible Beauty by Libba Bray. Great and Terrible Beauty follows this main character, Gemma Doyle, who is this girl who lives in India, but after a tragedy befalls her family, she is sent to an academy in England. There, she discovers she has powers and lots of boarding school stuff, and I give it 4 out of 5 stars. It wasn't the most amazing book I ever read, but it was thoroughly enjoyable, and I enjoyed my time reading it. I had a lot of fun reading about the characters and the main character, Gemma, and it was just an overall enjoyable read. Then, after the first day of booktubeathon, the second day started, and yet I finished another whole book, which is great. And that book was Queens of Geek by Jen Wilde. Queens of Geek is a contemporary novel following the main character, or 2 main characters. The first main character is Charlie, who is a vlogger, and she is an Australian Chinese girl, bisexual girl, and she's at this convention called SuperCon to promote her first movie and to show everyone that she's over her co-star and ex-boyfriend Reese Ryan. Then at this convention, her longtime internet famous crush Alyssa Huntington comes, and she realizes that her crush is not as one-sided as she thinks it is. And the second main character is Taylor, who is a girl that has, I believe, Asperger's syndrome, and she has anxiety, and she's at this convention to meet her favorite author of her favorite series, and she also is trying to work and trying to make her friendship with her best friend Jamie and make it into something more. This book was a very cute book, and it's very short. I think this is a perfect book for the booktubeathon because it was cute, it was light, it was funny, it was very fluffy, and you know those contemporaries that just make you feel good. This book is told through 2 perspectives of the 2 main characters, and then sometimes it has Taylor's Tumblr posts that she does of her reactions while she's at the convention. I really enjoyed this. I gave it like 4.5 out of 5 stars, and I think it was a really cute story. I think the writing could have been better. You know, it's just one of those books that you can't help but love, and I definitely recommend that you pick it up because if you like this kind of stuff, you will definitely enjoy it. So then comes the third day of the booktubeathon, and that's when everything falls apart and comes crashing down, burning to the ground. The third book I read, not finished in booktubeathon, was Clockwork Angel by Cassandra Clare. I started this on the 3rd day and I finished it after the booktubeathon ended, and I think it was because I started it and then I was like, oh my god, it's a 500-page book, and then I started getting really panicky about like, was it like this was not the best choice for a readathon. It was a whole thing, so I just stopped reading and I didn't feel like reading. Like the other books I was like, yes, this is a book I can finish, I can do this, I'll just keep reading. But then this one I just didn't feel like doing that, and it just took me a lot longer, which is fine. But you know, I don't think I should have put a 500-page book on a readathon, TBR, but you know, I put this. Okay, it was my mistake. I put this and Reaper at the Gates, which are 2 like 500-page books, and I don't think I should have done that. But you know, it's fine. Clockwork Angel, if you did not know, is the first book in the Infernal Devices series by Cassandra Clare. It follows Tessa, William, and Jem Carstairs, who are these 3 people that live in kind of early Shadowhunter world, like the 1800s or Victorian era. It's really good. I highly recommend you pick it up if you like Cassandra Clare and you haven't read it. If you read her Mortal Instruments series, I highly recommend this. It's so good. Like, if you didn't like the Mortal Instruments, you might, but you liked like the world or the Shadowhunters, then I recommend this one because in some ways, and like the writing, it's better than the Mortal Instruments. Like, don't get me wrong, I love the Mortal Instruments, but I think like the Infernal Devices just holds a special place in my heart. After Clockwork Angel, I finished A Language of Thorns by Leigh Bardugo. Language of Thorns is a short story, not short story, more like tales from the Grishaverse. I thought this would be more like short stories following the main characters, but it's more like if you were having like folk tales, and like if you were to tell bedtime stories in that world, these would be it. Also, this book is so beautiful. One, look at the cover. It's like so beautiful. Then look at it without the dust jacket and it's even more beautiful. Like, look at this and this And this like spine, so beautiful, like A+ to the design team. And it's not just the outside. If you look inside, there's a bunch of art in there on each page. At the end of each story, they also have these full page beautiful arts. Like, this is probably one of my favorite pieces of art in this book. And the other one is this one, which is so gorgeous, and oh my god, I loved these stories so much. Some of them I enjoyed more than others, obviously, but overall I so adored this collection. It's something that I would probably read in the future if I ever felt like picking up like a folk tale or just like short stories. I would highly recommend this if you love the Grishaverse, and if even though these don't follow the characters, I still think you should read it because they're so good. It's worth it for the beautiful art. Like, just for the beautiful art, I think it's worth it. The next book I read in the month of August was Leon the Offbeat by Becky Albertalli. Leon the Offbeat is the companion novel to Simon vs. the Homo Sapiens Agenda, which is also written by Becky. And this one follows the main character, Leah Burke, who is bisexual, but she hasn't told anyone, only her mom. And so it follows her going through senior year of high school and prom and her friendships and new love and crushes and all that jazz. I give this book 4.5 out of 5 stars. I did not love it as much as I loved Simon vs. the Homo Sapiens Agenda. I absolutely adore that book to death. But this book I did not like as much. I felt like it had no plot. Like, things were just happening in like everyday life, which is not interesting sometimes. I get the main conflicts and stuff, but like there was no plot and the character was just doing everyday things with everyday like friends and stuff, and I just didn't like that aspect of it all the time. I think the Simon vs. the Homo Sapiens Agenda has a lot more substance and like a story and a plot and a message than this book. It's more like a lighthearted contemporary just to pick up, not necessarily for the story but for the characters and the interaction. I did enjoy seeing Simon and Bram in this book. It just is such a pleasant surprise after the ending of Simon vs. the Homo Sapiens Agenda, and they were like together in this book and they were like full relationship mode, and I love that. If you read Simon and you're like contemplating picking this up, you can. It's not adding something. It's not like if you don't read it and you're like missing something from your life, but like if it's a fun contemporary to pick up if you like the Simon characters. Next book I read in the month of August was A Reaper at the Gates by Saba Tahir. A Reaper at the Gates is the third book in the Ember and the Ashes series, and the Ember and the Ashes series is a high fantasy series set in this Roman-inspired world where there's this girl named Laia of Sarah, and she is living in this world that is taken over by the Martial Empire, and they're basically controlling everything. And then her brother is kidnapped, and she goes to this mysterious underground group, and she goes to ask them to help her. They send her as a slave into this military academy, and she has to pretend to be like a servant, and in return for helping her find her brother. I really liked this book. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. One thing that really surprised me was that I loved this way more than Torch Against the Night. I loved Ember and the Ashes, the first book, and the second book was kind of for me. I didn't love it as much, but then this came and I was skeptical about how it would be, like how I'd like it, but I loved it so much. I was fully invested in the story, and not that I wasn't invested before, but I was just a new level and invested. I just enjoyed this story so much more than the second book, and I'm so ready for the fourth book and the finale to this series. I know Saba worked so hard on this book, and it clearly shows because this book was so amazing and just took the world to new heights. Saba deserves all the praise for this book, and I absolutely cannot wait for the finale of the series to see what happens. I don't know what will happen to all these characters. I'm honestly scared, but you know, it's fine. Saba does her job very well, which is torturing people with her stories. The second to last book I read in the month of August was A Court of Frost and Starlight by Sarah J Maas. A Court of Frost and Starlight is a novella that bridges the gap between the Court of Thorns and Roses series and the spin-off trilogy novels that come in the future. It's a story that was released in May, but was really about Christmas. Okay, it's not Christmas, it's called Winter Solstice, but you know, it's the same thing. They go out shopping and they buy each other gifts and they have parties, they drink a lot, and they do random stuff like talking about the war and Farah paints sometimes. Also, you know what I'm pissed about? This book, A Court of Wings and Ruin, this is 700 pages and it is $18.99. This is A Court of Frost and Starlight, which is like 200 pages and it's $17.99. I gave this 3 out of 5 stars. I did not love it, but I didn't hate it either. It's not the worst book I've ever read. What happened to the books? Absolutely nothing happened to this book. It's just basically them shopping and eating and drinking wine and talking about the war. Also, what's not the best is that Reese is horny like all the time. So that was very fun to read about. But yeah, if you want to read a fan fiction essentially about what they would be doing if it was Christmas and them having fun, then you can read this book, but if you don't, you're not missing anything. And the last book I read in the month of August was Crazy Rich Asians by Kevin Kwan. So, the movie came out for this book, and if you did not know, Crazy Rich Asians about this girl named Rachel Chu, who is a Chinese girl living in New York City. She's been living there her whole life in America. Her boyfriend invites her over to come to his homeland, Singapore, and meet his family. Now, what he does not tell Rachel is that he is a filthy, super rich person. His family's super rich, owed money, and he doesn't tell her any of that and just takes her to Singapore. So she goes there, she goes and discovers all the richness that the family has and basically how rich they actually are. I give this 4 out of 5 stars and I really enjoyed it, but one of the reasons why I docked a star is because this book felt very long. Like, this does not look like a 500-page book. This is a 500-page book. But it's like, you can't tell because it has one of those Bible pages that Sarah J. Maas's books now have. But yeah, this is a 500-page book and it felt like it took me forever to read. I feel like this book is more suited as a movie because, like, they talk about a lot of visuals to like represent richness. So like, for example, they'll be describing a mansion and like all the crazy stuff that's in it. But I'd rather see the mansion with my own 2 eyes than read about it. So I think this is more suited as a movie because the richness can be really truly like shown as a visual that you can see. Like, if they were describing a really big house with all these crazy features and gardens and pools and stuff, wouldn't you rather want to see it for yourself than read about it in a book? I don't know about you, but I would rather watch it. So I think that's what took some of the 1 star away from me, but I still really enjoyed it. One thing I did not like about Nick's character is that he completely took her to like Singapore and he did not tell her anything about his family. He just takes her and he expects her to like be fit in and just be perfect and like a fit, but it's not. She faces a lot of hardships with the family not accepting her because she's from like a lower class and she's not as rich as them and she's not from a great family as them apparently. And I don't like that because, one, you don't do that. You don't just take a person and not tell them that your family has like billions of dollars and that you are one of the most important families in Singapore. I didn't like that. He completely like didn't tell her, didn't care about her feelings, thought she'd be okay when she clearly was not. That was just an annoying aspect about this book, but overall I liked it. It was easy to read, and after the end of this book I really didn't feel like I would want to read the second book, but then I read that the second book is about Rachel's wedding and I so want to read about that. If you haven't watched the movie, I recommend that you watch the movie because that was a really good movie. Another movie I watched this month was To All the Boys I've Loved Before, which is the film adaptation of the book written by Jenny Han. I'm literally like obsessed with the movie. Like, I watched it, so it came out on Friday, so I watched it the Saturday after, and then I watched it again the Sunday after that, like right after the next day, because I was so obsessed and I love that movie so much. I could just watch it. It's a movie I can watch over and over and over again, and it's so adorable. I love Lara Jean as a character. I have not read the books, so I don't know like how true they are to the books, but I've watched some reviews and I've heard that it's pretty close to what the book is about. Also, I need a Peter Kavinsky in my life. He is so adorable. I love Noah Centineo. I'm obsessed with him now. But yeah, that was a really good movie and I highly recommend you watch it. If you haven't, you will not regret it. But yeah, that is it for my August wrap up. Let me know down below what is your favorite book that you read in the month of August, as I would love to know. But that is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed and I'll see you next time. Bye!